My husband was Canadian, and we have had the two girls, Zoe and Maya. And I think when he got diagnosed, we'd been together for about, would be about 9 years. Yeah, when he first got diagnosed.
How did you first find out that about your husband when he was unwell? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
He had been unwell for quite some time, for about a year. Unfortunately, we sort of went through all the gluten-free, dairy-free. He'd had sore stomachs, lost a lot of weight. There was no family history, so it didn't sort of think to look for that sort of thing. And also, I think deep down he knew that there was something wrong, and the doctor advised him to take some tests, but he hadn't done it until I actually said, I think you just have to do these things, because he was in pain and not coping very well with everyday things. And so he went and did the tests without telling me and knew for a few weeks until I questioned him again, and then it came out that he was having further tests done, but they weren't sure exactly what was wrong, but it was pointing in that direction. And so we found out the week before Christmas he had a colonoscopy, and they were unable to do a proper test, and they knew straight away it was from a 10 centimetre tumour. Yeah.
In the bowel?
In the bowel, yeah. So the week before Christmas in 2006, I was trying to get him to slow down, but his way of coping was to just try and live life as normal as possible, and he didn't even want to do anything special, or he just wanted to be with his girls at home, working. He worked from home in the lounge. So we had like this family unit, 24/7, in the house, and in a way it was very special because Zoe in particular got to spend a lot of quality time with him. I didn't know that the prognosis was so bad in the beginning. He never told me how bad it was, and so I kept hoping, and I think too I had a wonderful support from friends, and of course the counselling.
When did the hospice become involved, Anna?
It was about a year before he passed away, and I learnt later that is fairly common, that is sort of the bench, the time they take it from, and we had no idea how long he had, and he didn't want to know.
He didn't want to know?
No. So for me, in the end, knowing that we were within the hospice palliative care program gave me an idea of what we were heading for, and in a way helped me prepare for what was ahead, because I think if I hadn't known that, it would have come as a real shock.
Tell me about the counselling, what it meant to you through the hospice.
For me, the counselling gave me the opportunity to talk to somebody that didn't know me or my family too personally, but of course they got to know. So it was someone unbiased who wasn't prepared to wasn't pushing their opinion on me, or was just an ear to listen to all those concerns, to cry with, to Claire was just at times I could sense that she could really feel what I was going through, and she would get quite teary, and and yet every time I left I felt like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders, and and then the next time I'd prepare something again that I knew I had to talk to her about. But if I hadn't had that, I really believe that our marriage would have really suffered, because we were just struggling so hard with those everyday things of him working and him trying to be so brave, that if I hadn't been able to say, I'm just so worried and so scared and afraid, and those things that I couldn't say to him, that I think I would have had to have time out.
What have you learned about yourself, Anna?
I mean, you never want to think that you've learnt to be a better person or a different person through something so horrible, but I actually have found... Sorry.
It's okay.
I think how I've grown as a person, or changed as a person through the whole experience, it's taught me not to be quite so self-centred about, or even thinking about the the little things that worry you. I hear friends say, oh, my daughter wasn't asked to a birthday party, or my daughter wasn't asked for a play date last week, and I think, gosh, that's nothing. Or some of my friends are having midlife crisis over turning 40, and I just think we're alive.
Yeah.
We're alive, He was 36 and, like I said, fit and healthy and full of life, and all of a sudden it can just be taken away from you. And I actually often say to my friends, I don't want to preach or anything like that, but just think about your life and what you have. You have a wonderful house, a great husband. Yes, sometimes it's annoying having them around, but I'd love to fight over the remote occasionally, or have someone make me a cup of tea. I feel that if anything, it's taught us just to live life so much, and just to enjoy people for who they are. For all their differences, and it's not always easy. Sometimes I just think, we all have bad days, and you want. I haven't any family here, but at the same time, wonderful friends, and I think you learn to ask for help, and I think that's something that, if I can tell people that are in the same position, when people offer help and they offer to take your kids home from school or anything like that, I've learnt to actually just not be proud and not try and be too strong, and to say, well, that would be great, that would be really good. It'd be, very helpful.
Can you be prepared for your husband dying?
I think not the actual physical sense of it, like actually watching someone. For me, I hadn't seen anybody die, so that was the physical side of it was huge. And everybody dies in a different way, of course. And Ryan was very peaceful and very, very calm and quiet, and once again he did it with great sort of pride, So I actually have some very nice memories of those last 4 nights we had in the hospital together, just the two of us, while my children were at home with my parents, and we actually spent a lot of time talking and hugging and getting ready for that. But I think it's because he was sick, he sort of became more of a patient than my husband. And so it was afterwards when the memories started flooding back of the normal life that we had before he was sick. And suddenly the everyday things like Father's Day, birthdays, Christmas, and going to the park even with families, or going to school fish and chip night, with families. That's when it would hit me that things were quite different, and things had changed a lot, and that they were never going to be the same. And it had all been about the cancer and the illness, and suddenly I was back to living again myself and feeling full of life, but a huge gap.
Did you have counselling after Ryan died?
Yes, I was very lucky. The hospice actually provided another 6 months. I think it was six months or so of counselling. And then one day Claire and I just looked at each other and we realised we weren't actually talking about the cancer or Ryan anymore. We were talking about other things, and I just said to her, I think I'm ready to go now. And she said, I think you are too. And it was exactly the same day we both felt that I'd sort of hit that point where I'd almost over-talked things, and I felt ready to take those strategies once again that she had given me to go out and have a go on my own. And you go back and revisit that when you feel you need it. But I think just initially that was, it was great just to be able to do that on my own afterwards as well, and not feel abandoned. Because I think it's huge, the actual like I said, the aftermath of actually realising, well, your life is going on, and everybody else's lives are going on, but yours is so different. And a lot of people, even though they don't mean to, you still get the sense that they think within a certain amount of time you should be feeling better. And there's just no time frame. There's no time frame for anybody. And in fact, for me, it was probably I coped for a year to 2 years quite well, and then suddenly it all, really hit when we went to see his family, and and that's when I found the 2-year mark quite a big one.
Isn't that important? There's no time frame.
No time frame.
And everyone does it differently.
Yeah, and there's no rules, no regulations, and I think, if family can understand that it can hit you at so many different times. Even now, like I said, I'm going out to a 40th dinner tomorrow night without my husband, and they're all couples. And, my friends say, I can't believe you're doing it. You're doing so well. But, you still walk into that room and you've got to be so strong. But I wouldn't not go out because, you want to be with your friends and you want to have a life and you want to, and you know that eventually, and it does get easier. That does get easier. You do find suddenly you're actually having fun again, and you're actually smiling and laughing, and you want to experience that. But it does. It takes a lot of strength to walk into a room by yourself. Yeah, I say he's with us, and yeah, we're just getting to a better place. We're not getting over it, like you say. We're getting to a better place. Yeah.
What would you say to a family member in the first instance about being afraid?
I would say to a family member to try not to think about it too much, the actual why you're here and why you, because anything can happen. It can change. It could change. You do hear different stories of different people and time frames, and everything. People cope with cancer in lots of different ways, but at the end of the day, you've got to worry about how you're coping with it. Even if you're not the person who has the cancer, and be open to any help or any advice. And you can only try. If it's not your thing, or it's not, you might come back to it within a month or something. It might be just a taste that you get, and then you think about it later that's what you need again. But I just think everybody's so different that you've just got to look at it as a positive step, and just and you'll get so much out of it, and it will keep you going through some very, it might be just someone you just want to chat to because you haven't got someone that you feel you can open up to without it being not used against you, but brought up later or revisited later when you don't want it to. You can just walk out of that door and shut the door and know that what was said in there is left there, and it's not going to be brought up again or anything like that. It's unbiased, and it's the advice is wonderful and caring, and that your life actually is really important to that person, and that what you're going through is huge. It's huge. Whether the person's old or young, it's still a loss, and it's someone's life, and it's precious, and you want to remember them, for whatever they've done in their lives, and to talk to somebody about it is really special. My daughter said in the car, a wonderful response. She goes, "Is this somebody's house?" And that is the impression you get when you come. It's somebody's house. It's not a hospital. So that was quite a good thing to say, I thought.
That's a great thing to say.
Yeah.